this changes everything because the One Piece manga just started maybe the most hyped flashback of all time, because for the very first time ever, we learn what actually took place on the legendary island God Valley. And wow, Oda really knows how to take everything that we thought we knew and just, throw it right into the trash. Because this island is insane and absolutely changes everything that we thought we knew about the legendary battle between the former Pirate King Gold Roger and the infamous pirate Roxy Zebek as well. But that is of course far from the only incredible reveal in this chapter, because on top we also learned that the Celestial Dragons are probably the single-handedly most scumbag group of characters I have ever seen in any story. And even Shanks' dad or uncle or whoever this guy here really is just as bad as the rest of them. And then there is the possibility that we actually just met Luffy's mother? Huh? And what's probably just as crazy though is that we finally learned exactly what is so special about Bartholomew Kuma's race, where Kuma might have gotten his incredible devil fruit, and how his lineage directly ties back to Sun God Nika from the distant past. Oh yeah, and speaking of the past, we just saw more of Saint Saturn's mind-blowing abilities, which are not only super powerful, they also seem to break all sorts of rules that we thought we knew about One Piece, and I honestly have so many questions, but also some answers about his mysterious powers. And so let's actually start with Saint Saturn here, because he showed off some truly unbelievable stuff right at the start of this chapter. First, he kind of brushed off having a sword stabbed into his chest like it was nothing. I mean, we already thought that was gonna happen. But not only that, the blood disappeared as if nothing had happened at all. Like, what? Now, we've only seen one devil fruit in the entire story so far that actually lets you heal yourself. So if Saturn has some sort of healing powers, that instantly makes him a enormous threat right out the get-go. I kind of have to wonder though, is this ability because of his demon transformation? Which, again, to be clear, we still don't know if this is actually a devil fruit or if he is truly just some sort of straight up devil-like, demon-like creature. But the fact that Vegapunk just clearly shouts out that it must be a devil fruit power makes me kind of think that it's more likely than not that he's just straight up a devil. Like, man, I'm getting chills just thinking about the fact that we're finally getting to see this guy in action, but I do have some sort of idea about a potential weakness as well, which we will discuss in just a moment. So before we get distracted here, Saturn's healing was just the very first ability that he showed off here, because he then burst out this evil eye-looking sort of power to damage both Bonnie and Sanji. And while I'm still not too clear what this power exactly is, it does seem like this is some sort of really special projectile attack. Maybe something like an invisible hockey bullet or just some kind of demonic ability, but whatever it is insanely powerful because it actually drew blood from both Bonnie, but much more impressively when you think about it, Sanji, which is a massive feat because remember that Sanji's body is now ridiculously sturdy and powerful. I mean, he literally tanked this massive sword blow from Kaido's second commander and even this full force attack from the overpowered Seraphim without even flinching. And so just making Sanji start bleeding just shows the raw power of even this very apparently basic attack from Saturn. Now, at this point, I was kind of hoping that Sanji might actually stand a chance against Saturn here, but I was dead wrong right out the gate because just moments later, Saturn somehow manages to freeze everyone with this mysterious power once again, which is just like, wow, like how's he doing all of that? Because these are powerful fighters as well, but they're literally completely helpless against the Celestial Dragon. And now I'm really wondering, can Saturn even be killed in the first place? I mean, later on in this chapter, we actually seem to get even more evidence for the Gorosei are immortal theory, because during the flashback at God Valley, which we'll of course break down in just a moment, patience, he basically looked completely unchanged from the time to now, which is 40 years ago. And I do know that people in the One Piece world usually live a lot longer than in real life, but come on, I mean, 38 years is quite a long time to not look any different at all. So I do think we're once again on the side of, yeah, the Gorosei are just straight up immortal beings, maybe straight from the Void Century. Which doesn't mean that they can't be killed though. And Saturn's comment from the last chapter about not having come down to the surface from the red line in a long time does make me wonder if they don't come down from Arijoa because of one particular weakness. And that, yeah, would of course be the ocean, the sea itself, which is basically the enemy of devil fruit users in the entire world. And so assuming that he has a devil fruit, or that his devil fruit form is also considered an enemy of the sea, forcing Saturn into the ocean could be the one safe way to kill him. I mean, it's certainly possible, and after Saturn straight up told Kizaru that he was a disappointment, which, oh my god, that was cold, I'm really wondering if we could see the Admiral pick up his boss at some point and just dump him straight into the ocean. I mean, just a theory, but with all the setup of Kizaru being a slave, I would love to see him break those chains and take out Saint Saturn. I've been kind of on the entire ride of the Admirals possibly, you know, turning sides. Aokiji has already done it. We've seen Akainu being very impatient with the Gorosei, and then now we have Kizaru, who's clearly not a fan of having to fight all his former friends, so that would be sick to see. But speaking of slaves, let's discuss the mind-blowing true nature of God Valley here. Now, there are three major changes that we just have to talk about. The first is, what is God Valley? Secondly, the characters involved in this epic and also incredibly tragic event. And the third is about one particular little red-haired kid. And so let's kick it off with, what even is this place? Because ever since chapter 957, when Sengoku revealed the legendary battle between the Pirate King Goldie Roger and the infamous pirate Roxy Zebek that took place on God Valley, I think pretty much everyone just assumed that God Valley was some sort of home island for the celestial dragons. But nope, we were completely off. I mean, turns out that this island was its own independent kingdom that just happened to offend the world government by calling themselves God. And so because of this, it was chosen 38 years ago to be the site of a bloodthirsty tournament where a bunch of slaves and the people already living on God Valley are all hunted down like animals by the world nobles. And I mean, like, wow, if you didn't already hate these spacesuit wearing world nobles, then surely you will do now. But that's not all that we learned here, because apparently this slave hunting tournament used to take place every 3 years, which, hold on. If they have been doing this ever since the Void Century 800 years ago, that would mean that they would have taken out over 254 islands with this kind of sickening tournament, not including the last 38 years. I mean, how is it possible that they're even that evil? And also, that explains why the One Piece world is so much water. We've seen the sea level rise 1 meter ever since the first island got taken out, the one at Lulusia. So just imagine that happening 200x times, how much the ocean would have risen since then, how much land would have been vanished, and just in general, how many islands that just straight up don't exist anymore. Now, of course, we don't know the full story of this yet, and I'm wondering if they stopped this tradition after the events of God Valley, because we have not heard of this tournament before, and we also know that God Valley was essentially wiped off the map. So it's possible that whatever happened here was so awful for the world government that they decided to never hold the tournament again. Plus, Saint Saturn was clearly at God Valley, but then he said he hadn't been to the surface in a long time, so maybe this particular tournament was the actual last time that he went down on the surface himself. But now I just have to know, what was that catastrophic event that made them end the tournament? And we'll discuss more about that in just a moment, but first I want to talk about the main people who were absolutely known to be involved in this event, including a confirmed epic one on this battle that we never ever knew about in the first place. And starting with the person who seems to be the main villain of this flashback, the Holy Knight Figureland Garling. Now, in case you forgot, he is this guy, and it now seems more likely than ever that he is truly Shanks's dad. Because, I mean, they just look incredibly similar. Or if not his dad, maybe Shanks's uncle or something like that. But apart from killing the original king of God Valley, Garling is expected to be the champion of this slave hunt, which we can assume means that he's clearly the most powerful or maybe most ruthless of the world nobles participating here. But now that we know that his appearance is actually so similar to Shanks's, it puts a whole new context on this panel right here from ages ago, because while we never really thought that Roger actually gave Whitebeard some heavy scars in battle, it's very possible now that Whitebeard actually fought against Garling during the battle on God Valley. We do know that Whitebeard was present there because he was part of the Rock's crew at that time. And so I think that there's a very good chance that we could see Garling attacking Whitebeard when Rox does eventually attack the island. And man, if Garling is giving Whitebeard scars, then this man is gonna be no joke and should be a devastatingly powerful fighter. Like, I for one would give anything to see a full out fight between these two, and fingers crossed that we're gonna get more of that. However, since we're talking about Rox, this brings up the next really interesting point here, because you have to keep in mind that we were told by Sengoku that the Rox pirates attacked God Valley and were only defeated by the combined powers of Roger and the hero of the Marines, Garp. But now I'm actually wondering how much of that is actually true, if any, really. Because now that we know that God Valley wasn't just the home of the Celestial Dragons who were innocently attacked by Rox, we just have to ask, why did Rox attack God Valley in the first place? Was he trying to free the slaves, or was this tournament with so many of the Godosei in one place just the perfect opportunity for Rox to wipe out the world nobles? To be honest, both do seem quite reasonable as options, but why then would Roger join the fight to stop Rox? Like, surely Roger would have hated the Celestial Dragons as well for what they were doing there, and he wouldn't have stopped them from freeing the slaves. So it has to be something else here, right? Well, there was actually one other thing that we were told from this chapter, which was that God Valley was home to some very valuable natural resources. Now, we weren't told yet what that resource was. It could be the incredibly rare sea stone, or maybe gold or emerald, the Emerald City, or another incredibly fun option is from chapter 434 and the same conversation between Whitebeard and Shanks, where Shanks says that he brought some of Whitebeard's favorite wine from his hometown in the West Blue, which is basically now confirmed to be God Valley. But interestingly enough, Shanks also calls this wine medicinal water, or basically healing water. So what if God Valley is a place where magical water naturally appears? Definitely seems like a solid option, because right after drinking the sake or wine, Whitebeard gets up and clashes with Shanks. So it does seem like some pretty good healing water, if you ask me. But that's not even the most interesting option in my opinion, because God Valley might straight up have been the original home of devil fruits. Think about it. We've already speculated in a lot of past videos that Rox attacked God Valley in order to take a powerful devil fruit / devil fruits. But I think this whole situation both supports and also somewhat opposes this theory as well. Because first off, if there were these powerful devil fruits that were created here, then why wouldn't the world government or some other super powerful force come and take them before that? They don't seem to have too much trouble taking over the kingdom for this tournament, so why not in the past? So that's one point against this idea. On the other hand, we do know that Kaido only got his devil fruit after the battle on God Valley, and at the same time could also be true for Whitebeard, who as far as we know didn't have his fruit before that battle as well. Plus, after this chapter, we do know of at least one more character who could have gotten their overpowered devil fruits during the battle at God Valley as well. But then again, maybe it's just because the world nobles were feeding devil fruits to their slaves for entertainment, so maybe it was to make that sick kind of hunt more entertaining, and then the people died and they got the revived devil fruits. I mean, it's kind of messed up no matter how you think about it. But the person I was talking about here was of course Kuma, who might have found his very broken pawpaw fruit after he was released on this island with a bunch of other slaves in order to be hunted down by the Celestial Dragons. And like, wow, if anyone predicted this sort of twist, then I hereby name you the king of One Piece theories, because I for one never saw that twist coming like from anywhere. And for Kuma, really, again, this is just the start of the incredible reveals that we keep getting. And I mean, I feel like I keep saying that, I'm like a broken record at this point, but was this really all just in one single chapter? Okay, anyways, First off, we learned that Kuma is from a race of people called the Buccaneers. Now, if you're not familiar, this is a term used to describe pirates who mostly attacked Spanish colonies in North America during the 17th century, which to me means that this race was likely connected to the ancient kingdom, who were almost definitely something like pirates. We also learned that this race is a mix of humans and giant blood, which is how Kuma came to have their ridiculous size and strength, at least compared to a regular human. And now I'm actually kind of wondering if this is also true for some of the other freakishly tall humans that we've seen all throughout the story, like Big Mom and Whitebeard. But to further support this idea that the Buccaneers were allies of the ancient kingdoms, we're told that the legend of 𝚎𝚐𝚐𝚗𝚍 is actually passed down through the Buccaneer members, and that Kuma even knew both the name and the same exact drum rhythm that Nika's heartbeat makes as well. So could this be why Kuma was so determined to help Luffy back on 𝚎𝚐𝚐𝚗𝚍 when he both saved the crew from Kizaru and protected the ship during the time skip? But again, there was the connection to Dragon as well, so who knows? And this chapter is just insane. And we aren't even done yet, because once the world government learned the truth about Kuma's family and his race, his entire family was enslaved and taken to Marijoa, which of course led to Kuma's father and mother's death, and Kuma's eventually being thrown into the slave hunting tournament on God Valley. And you know, since Ivankov was there as well, maybe Dragon actually was part of the Marines, came with Garp or something, saw what happened there, and then thought, oh, I'm gonna start the who knows? I feel like it's all so interesting. And so this might have actually not have been the worst thing for Kuma then, because this is where we see him eventually meeting up with the future Revolutionary Army members Ivankov and a brand new character named Ginny. And yeah, okay, let's take a deep breath here, because we can speculate so much more from this. Like, again, as I mentioned, this moment right here could very well be the origin of the Revolutionary Army, which again means that Dragon might also be showing up on God Valley very soon. Just yeah, let's keep pouring more gas onto this chaotic fire here. However, I for one am super curious about Ginny here and the insane possibility that she could be Luffy's mom, not Crocodile. Or is Ginny Crocodile? Oh my god. Okay. I mean, you might be thinking I'm crazy here, but look, she's literally eating some meat, and if that's not solid evidence that this is Luffy's mom, I don't know what is. No man, my head's going to explode right now. Like, no, if this is Luffy's mom, we probably won't be seeing her for very long, since moms pretty much never survive backstories. But I think Oda said that I think Luffy's mom is still alive, so, and we have seen her in the story. So again, maybe it is Crocodile, Crocomom / Ginny. Ivankov was there. Oh my god. Why does this make so much sense? Okay, moving on though, if Kuma did indeed find his devil fruit on this island, then his ability to push people across the world would be the perfect way for them to eventually escape the all-out war that is coming to the island very soon. And before we now completely dive off into the deep end of the pool here though, there is even more to discuss, because while we brought up Garling's presence on the island, there is one piece to all of that is just incredibly strange. And that's because we were told that Roger picked up baby Shanks from a treasure chest. And so if this wasn't actually Garling's home, then why was Shanks here? Was Shanks' mom also here, or did Garling just have Shanks with him? Did Roger just randomly steal some treasure and Shanks just happened to be in the chest like Uta in Film Red? Or did someone like Garp find Shanks and give him to Roger for protection? Which would of course be fitting, since it's the exact inverse of when Roger asks Garp to look out for Ace after he turned himself into the Marines. And this could completely change how we think of Shanks in general, because his future role in the story is like now completely thrown into like the unknown, and even his mysterious meeting with the Gorosei. And if you want to know everything about the story of Shanks so far, you can watch that video right here. Shanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.